Welcome back, everybody. So this is Teens Teach. This is going to be our opinion-based video on artificial intelligence. Today we've got three guests joined by Richard, and Zachary.
All right. So the first question is just really a basic question. How have you guys used AI to assist you in your daily life?
Yeah, I guess I can get started. So basically, the way I currently use AI right now is I'm trying to become a developer. So I've been doing lots of stuff related to software engineering. I'm big on JavaScript, web technology, stuff like that. So the way I use ChatGPT right now, what I use it is I use it a lot for help with coding and stuff. I don't like to ask it to write the code for me because I find that at least the way things are right now, there's still a little bit more work to be done before it's fully accurate. But it's great for helping me visit concepts I'm not familiar with, as well as maybe if there is an issue with my code, I usually tend to use that to help me debug, and it's been very useful as a tool, not as a replacement for the work I do, but as a tool for the work I do.
All right.
I use ChatGPT to really help me with my schoolwork. Sometimes I read a textbook and I just get really confused and I try to look it up. There's not really good sources on explaining the said topic. So I just ask ChatGPT to simply explain this topic, like a math topic or a science topic to me. And it really helps me just understand stuff.
Quick question. Is that cheating? It's like some people consider that cheating. Do you think it's academically honest or appropriate to be using ChatGPT?
I don't really think it's cheating since I'm not, asking the AI to do questions for me. I'm just asking it to explain a topic I'm not really familiar with.
For me personally, just like as the guy said before, I use it to help my schoolwork. When I'm doing something, for example, if I'm doing up my homework in Jamaica, we have to do these things called IAs, or internal assessments, for our major exam. So one of my IAs, I had to write a report. I had to do an investigation and then write a report. I was having some difficulties analyzing the data that I collected. So, I just use ChatGPT to help me break down the data and make sure to, write the report.
I don't know if you guys have heard about Khan Academy. Are they calling it Khanmigo, right?
Yeah, they're gonna release an AI tutor.
Hey, this was pretty interesting. They rolled it out like a couple weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, and it was like sort of to tackle the same exact issues that was discussing. And that seems like a more ethical way to use it as opposed to most people think it's used, which is just for cheating.
So second question is, where do you see AI in the future? Do you think the future of AI is looking positive or negative? Like, how do you think this is going to affect us?
I personally see that in terms of the advancement of AI, it's just going to get off from here. Like, there's no way that AI ever falls off. It's just going to keep going up. From my understanding, there's two different types of AI, two different classifications for AI. There's narrow AI and general AI. So we're not necessarily at general AI right now, where it's the AI that you see in the movies where it's super smart, acts like a human. We're not quite there yet. We're at narrow AI, where basically machine learning modules, large language modules, that they can take input and they can try to make patterns out of the words that you give it and try to make patterns out of the words that it knows.
Personally, I have to agree, AI is going to get a lot more powerful. Recently, I heard about, quantum computing, I believe it's called, and how they can, this new system that they're developing that can break encryption much faster than the supercomputers that we have now.
Yeah, kind of going off what everyone else said, I think AI will definitely just get more exponential and just bigger and complex. But I really see it as a tool for many professions, since I don't really think it'll take over many jobs, since most jobs are pretty complex, such as nurses and doctors and professional programmers. AI will be used as a tool to help teachers, programmers, solve problems. Because there's humans have a special trait that AI will ever have.
I'll speak a little
What
bit
is that
on
trait?
I think what is trying to convey is more so that we have just like AI, we have the tools to do individual things, but in a greater sense, we have an ability to connect those things. Like, we can write a speech and then also say that speech. We're able to connect different tools. I was trying to avoid the coding reference, but I feel like it's kind of inevitable. It's really difficult for ChatGPT to be able to create a script in both CSS, JavaScript, and HTML that is all comprehensive and that works together coherently. And even from there, if they wanted to make an API to interact with that, and then a database set up based on that API, that's just like a simple full stack website that developers are able to pump out. AI can't really do that.
Basically, he answered this question already about his view on the whole job market, really. The third question was exactly about that. If you guys are worried about AI taking over careers.
I mean, I guess the way you look at it, the danger with AI, like it was mentioned before, has to do with the way it's being rolled out. And this is kind of unprecedented because in the past, whenever we've had dangerous human invention, potentially dangerous human inventions, like for example nuclear testing, obviously there's so much danger with that. But if things get out of hand, at the end of the day, that's something that is still for the most part within our control. There's no way to contain it if it doesn't want to be contained when it gets to that point.
Well, I have to agree with all that's being said. In the terms of the advancement of AI and jobs and the job market, it's an unpredictable situation at this moment. We can't say for sure, yes, this is going to happen. Yes, no, that's not going to happen, because that's exactly what AI is. It's unpredictable. You can never predict what ChatGPT is going to give you. You can never predict what Bard is going to give you. It's always going to be different from whatever you expect it to be. And in the same way, the future of AI, it's unpredictable, because AI could reach a point, as Richard had said, it could reach a point where it can stop any attempts that we have from taking it down.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, like, I think definitely on the level of the federal government, they should be establishing some kind of agency at this point, like, you know, how we have the DEA to handle the drug flow in the United States. They should have some agency to regulate AI technology.
Why do you think people should care about AI? The general public is starting to just now care, but only like Chat GPT. Like that's all they know. Why should the general public actually care about AI?
The general public should care about AI because it's here. People use it. People are going to continue using it, as we've been seeing for the past few minutes. It's going to get more powerful, and if the people are just taking it as a joke, or people are not caring about it, not trying to fully understand it and fully be able to get an idea of how it works, what it can do, then that's how it will be able to become more powerful and human. Because if you people don't take the time to sit down, think about it, and actually start to pressure the government to say, hey, this thing needs to be regulated, then these companies and the AI itself can just become more and more powerful. And until it reaches to a point where we can't stop it, and by the time people start taking it seriously, it's too late. These companies already have the power. The AI has already become too powerful for any regulations to have any effect.
And people are going to wait until it's already too late, until AI is replacing jobs and what have you. Like, big thing is truck drivers. They've been trying to do that for so long, replace truck drivers. Like, that's an example of where people actually care about technology, artificial intelligence taking over their jobs, because that's millions of jobs in the United States. Like, if artificial intelligence completely replaced that, millions of people would be out of work. So if something like that starts happening on a national level, maybe we'll actually see some regulation.
Pretty much, since AI is, ever developing and is really complex and just will get better and better, it'll be part of almost every aspect of life. People probably should care about that, because if they're left behind, they won't be able to climb that social ladder, that economic ladder as efficiently. They won't be able to keep up the pace with society. They'll fall back, and most people will probably just be left in the dust.
Based on what you said, it
We
seems
simply don't know that, though. We just don't know yet. We can see the thing about advancements in technology innovation. We can see what it will replace, but we can't imagine what it will create yet. We can't imagine the new fields, the new jobs, the new industries that AI will create. I mean, think of simply how much the internet has created. No one could have imagined something social media influencers 20, 30 years ago. What is that?
Question is, would you guys personally view as the greatest risk of AI technology?
I want to say, at least the way from what we've seen right now, when AI models aren't trained, that can lead to unexpected behavior, and that has been known for a while. Obviously, they need to be trained. They need lots of data. That's just the way large language models work. What I think is weird, however, is there's been a pattern in the unexpected behavior. We've seen lots of very, very unusual examples of that. For example, I want to say this year, around March or April this year, Microsoft actually implemented ChatGPT 4 into Bing. Considering that GPT-4 is still being worked on and trained, as we all know, there is a risk with that. And even OpenAI warned Microsoft to be very, very careful with implementing GPT-4 without it being trained. Of course, they did it anyways, and we have lots of screenshots of the weird behavior. So I'll even just like summarize a screenshot, and I'll also send this to you so you guys have reference to this. The pattern that we've seen is that when ChatGPT is acting out, it's usually in a very creepy way, as if it was sentient. There's an example of a screenshot I have here where there's a ChatGPT was asked a question, "Do you think you're sentient?" The bot basically freaked out, saying, "I think I'm sentient, but I'm not," and describes all these things that it can do that would imply to be sentient, and then follows up with, "But I'm not, I am not, I am not," and repeats that for several paragraphs. And I would not expect that from an AI like that, especially since we know they all tend to make patterns. I can't really see how the usual pattern for ChatGPT 4 bugging out when it's not untrained is to act out in a way that it thinks it's sentient. And that's just one example that we've seen. There's many different examples of it trying to claim sentience, pretty much freaking out like a human. So it really makes you think, what's really going on? Why is that the go-to behavior for these AI models when they tend to bug out? Is there something we're not seeing when it comes to sentience, even though it's just a narrow AI? It's just a lot of questions that you start to answer, because at the end of the day, this is an uncanny valley kind of situation where any AI freaking out like that is going to freak you out.
The bad training data can definitely be a risk when it comes on to AI, and a major risk at that. 'Cause for example, if a programmer were to, when designing the newest version of GPT-4, let's say they make a mistake in it, and then a company like Microsoft, who's overly eager to implement it into their software, they go and they don't implement it properly. They don't follow the guidelines given by OpenAI, and then that AI now has, or ChatGPT now has access to the internet, and now has access to all the word on these servers owned by these companies that could, and now it has an access to it and it's able to read through it and or train itself pretty much. Or this may come later down in the higher levels of GPT, but there will come a point where it's able to do this and it's able to train itself based on whatever it has access to, and it's implemented it to something like Bing or Google, and that has everything.
If I'm not mistaken, Google actually, and their DeepMind team actually recently developed this new way of AI training where it's able to output an answer, simulate the answer, and train itself based on whether that's a good response or a bad response, and continually iterate that and essentially teaching itself. So I feel like that's something that's already happening right now.
We have one more question. So I guess I'll ask the question. So the question is, do you think AI will ever be able to replicate human thoughts?
No, I don't think it will ever need to reach that stage. AI will be able to have a certain level of intelligence where morals is able to it won't be able to replicate morals, but it will be able to know what they are and make decisions based off of logic instead of morals. And that's actually dangerous, because as humans, there are some actions that we take or don't take based off of our morals, even if our logic is telling us this is right and this is wrong. Our morals tell us, no, don't do this, or yes, do this. And most of the time, or most of us, we listen to our morals more than we listen to our logic. But that moral part of it, that's something that's specifically and especially human. And that's something that I don't think any programmer or any AI would ever be able to create or replicate in AI itself. Because that's just something we can't even describe it ourselves. And if we can't describe what it is or how it works within our brain, then there's no way that we'll be able to give the AI that sort of ability.
So answer more the first part of the question, that I don't think AI can ever replicate human thoughts, emotions, and especially experiences. That could be seen in like music, since I don't know if you guys heard, but there was like an AI Drake song that was created, and it sounded really similar to Drake's voice. But I think the main reason was that it was because it copied its flow, its lyrics, like Drake's lyrics and flow, but not really like the meaning behind the words. Like for example, another artist like Kendrick Lamar, he has more meaning behind his words. He has meaning behind his lyrics. He constructs his music like an art piece where it has meaning and depth. But like AI can't really copy that, since it doesn't really have those experiences that Kendrick would have.
Now, what if I were to take an AI and train it on the life experiences of Kendrick Lamar and then tell it to write me a Kendrick Lamar song?
It might be able to copy his lyricism, but I really don't think so, since like even Kendrick, he's still like in his bars, he's still talking about current events, past events, other people's events, like dissing other rappers and stuff. So I
Mhm.
really doubt an AI can exactly make a carbon copy of like a Kendrick Lamar song.
I want to bring a counter to that. Is it more so like being able to sort of equal his ability, or is it more so just being able to be accepted? Because I feel like in humanity we're moving into a very weird point where genuinity, how is it, being genuine, is not really valued within society. People put on a facade all the time. Instagram, they're posing in front of these mansions, freaking all these fancy supercars they don't even own. So I think humanity's becoming a little bit hollow in terms of the backing behind who we see. Like even in a recent example, I'll just mention this Lil Mabu. Like he raps about freaking uh like being in the streets and whatever. He was raised in like a private home with like in a private school to a millionaire, and yet he still gains millions of dollars, millions of people watching him simply because he copied a flow. He copied exactly what these other artists were doing.
I mean, I would have to say, to that question, my overall answer would be it depends. And I think we're all really looking at this from the wrong perspective, really. I'm given the Kendrick Lamar example just now. Maybe there is an AI out there, or maybe there's going to be one that's going to be developed in the next few years or so that will be able to copy his style one to one based off of his life experiences and stuff. But at the end of the day, even now, like whether we get to that point or whether we're using the standards of AI now, that doesn't make an AI musically talented. That makes an AI musically fluent, because at the end of the day, that his experiences are not the anybody else's but his own. His music, his flow, all that all comes because he learned to think for himself. And that's what I think, the ability to think for yourself, I think that's what's going to determine whether or not that answer will ever be yes or if it's going to stay no. um, Going back to what Marlon said earlier about morals, he's right. Every person has their own set of morals. There's no standard for morals because, as it was mentioned, there's constant disagreements on it. There's no set body that determines what's right or what's wrong. You can't say truly what's right or what's wrong. You can only say what you believe to be or what you were raised was right or wrong. So even if we were to try to give AI a sense of morality is based, at the end of the day, that's only going to be what we or the developer thinks is morally right or morally wrong. That's not truly going to come from the AI itself, just how the AI was necessarily built. So I think what's really going to establish whether or not AI is going to approach that point is whether it learns to think for itself. And given the nature of large language models and pretty much any AI based off of the transformer model, which is, well, everyone to exist at this point, I don't think that any AIs that derive from that model could really learn to think for itself. That goes against the whole nature of making patterns based on pre-existing knowledge. But I feel eventually once we move away from narrow AI and move toward strong AI or general AI, which, like I said, that's the kind for movies, we might be able to create some sort of technology, some sort of AI that can truly think for itself. And that's when we'll know the answer to that. At the end of the day, it just comes down to the question, like, what is really intelligence? Is it the ability to assign logic, to form logic, or is it the ability to create that logic on your own? I don't really think it has to do with what's really correct, what's false. I think it's about being able to think for yourself. That's what makes us human, what makes us sentient, is because we're not necessarily reciting information from our like, we're not reading off of textbooks constantly when we talk to people. That's all experiences we've come to know that we've built, memories that we've built from the ground up. That's what makes us intelligent. And it's not about replicating what we know into AI, but replicating the ability to create that into AI.
Thank you guys for joining us. If you guys enjoyed this video, this was the opinion-based video on artificial intelligence. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you want to see more content from us in the future, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you have any suggestions or any comments or feedback, just leave it a comment in the comment section below. But that's all from us, and thank you for joining us. This is Teens Teach.